Are you a serial over-deliverer? Are you somebody who loves the idea of delivering fantastic service to all of your customers? So you typically go that extra mile, because it's easy to think, isn't it, that if you give customers an absolutely phenomenal service, then they're going to stick around for longer, they're going to love what you do, they're going to recommend you, they're going to be a client for life. Surely it's a really straightforward thing. The better the service you give, the more clients that you'll attract and the more clients will stay with you. And yet, do you know what? Often it's exactly the opposite, because over-delivering can actually be really damaging to your own business, and it can actually frighten off your customers as well. So let me explain a little bit more. What happens when you over-deliver is, firstly, it's a huge time stealer, especially if you're delivering a product or service that requires some of your time, because essentially for each of your customers, the package suggests this is what they get, but then actually you're massively over-delivering. So now you're putting lots more of your time than you expected to into that product or service. And that means that now you can't work with anywhere near as many customers, because each one takes up so much more of your time. What that also means is that you become underpaid for what you do, because the price that you have quoted is based on the amount of time that you expect something to take you. So if it takes you twice as long, then essentially you end up being half paid, half as much as you expected for that amount of time. So it can be a real risk factor to your income. It can really stifle your income as well. Now, the other irony is that you can very often, if you over-deliver, you can very often end up feeling really undervalued by your customer, because you're delivering more and more and more, and you're giving them all this amazing value. But the challenge with it is the customer just thinks that's normal, because you've probably not told them this is over and above what they signed up for. So the customer is always going to think that whatever you deliver is what they signed up for. So they're not necessarily going to appreciate you more because you deliver more. They're just going to assume that that's actually normal. And you can find yourself becoming really frustrated because you're going over and above and the customer doesn't seem to appreciate it. Whereas if the customer gets exactly what they expected, they're going to happily appreciate it. So you only need to deliver what you promised. There is also an irony in that it can feel as though delivering extra is going to make sure that your customers stay for longer. But there is actually a risk that you can overwhelm your customers. If you give them too much value, if you give them too much to do, if you give them far more than they expected, they might not actually have the time or the capacity to be able to cope with that. So if you over-deliver, you might find that you're also overwhelming your customer. So it's not always the key to retaining clients. It actually might scare them off. So the key thing to think about is making sure that you're super clear on what your customer has signed up for, and make sure you do a really, really good job of delivering that. But don't make the mistake of believing that if you over-deliver, that customers will be more happy with your service, more likely to refer you, more likely to stick around, because they just might not, and you may end up feeling undervalued and underpaid. If that's something you know that you are guilty of in your business, drop me a message and let's have a chat about how I could help you deliver exactly what you've promised, so you constantly generate really happy customers without having to go the extra 256 miles.